Good evening. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Tracking COVID-19. We are here again with all the major national, international developments about the virus outbreak and the response to it. The briefing by Health Ministry had a positive update. The recovery percentage in India has improved. Over 23% of the COVID-infected patients have in fact recovered back to health in the country. We will take a closer look at how the different states in the country are faring with the virus outbreak. All that and more. Let's begin with the headlines. Health Ministry says plasma therapy is still under study and is not approved by ICMR, and plasma therapy without prior approval from ICMR will be considered illegal. Lockdown showing result. Health Ministry says before lockdown doubling rate was 3 days, which has now increased to more than 10 days. Union Minister of Health Dr. Harshvardhan says no fresh COVID case reported in 80 districts since last 7 days. Minister also reviews the status of COVID surveillance in Delhi through video conferencing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses COVID-19 pandemic with Indonesian President Joko Widodo, says close cooperation between the two nations will be important to deal with challenges posed by this crisis. And global tally of COVID-19 cases crosses 3 million. The death toll crosses 211,000. United States leads the toll with over 56,000 casualties. Now, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan addressed a video conference today. He briefed about the current situation of COVID-19 in the country. He said no fresh case has been reported in 80 districts since last 7 days. 17 districts have not reported any case for the last 28 days.
80 districts in India have not reported a fresh case since the last 7 days. 47 districts have not reported a case for the last 14 days. 39 districts have not reported a case for the last 21 days. And 17 districts have not reported a case for the last 28 days.
And interacting with Autonomous Institute of Department of Biotechnology through video conferencing, he mentioned about a decline in doubling rate. The minister said for the last 14 days, our doubling rate has been 8.7 days, while for the last 7 days, it is in fact more than 10 days, it's 10.2 days. In the last 3 days, it increased further to 10.9 days, roughly.
So there is a doubling rate, which is a very significant and powerful indicator of how the things are happening. So pre-lockdown, our doubling rate of cases was around 3 days. But when I talk to you today, for the last 14 days, our doubling rate had been 8.7, and for the last 7 days, it had been 10.2. And today, for the last 3 days, when we calculate, it is roughly 10.9. I think that's a very, very significant progress.
And there's also a positive update that came up in the regular Health and Home Ministry briefing on COVID-19 today. India's recovery rate has climbed further to 23.3%, with 684 patients recovering just in the last 24 hours. That also saw 1,543 new cases being reported across the country. It was also informed that the government has issued new self-isolation guidelines wherein only mild pre-symptomatic people are considered fit for self-quarantine. Anyone under home quarantine has to be monitored closely. Health Ministry has further said that plasma therapy is in its early stages in India, where it is simply being experimented upon. So far, there is no clear evidence that it is to be used for treatment. It has not been approved by ICMR for treatment as yet. The Home Ministry informed that IMCT Surat is tracking COVID patients through G-mapping. Door-to-door surveys are also being conducted along with extensive testing. Food packets are being distributed in Surat for the migrant laborers. Gram Yodha Samiti are also distributing essential commodities in their districts.
अहमदाबाद में जो ग्रामीण एरिया है वहाँ हर ग्राम पंचायत में एक ग्राम योद्धा समिति का गठन किया गया है। ग्राम योद्धा समिति में सरपंच है, विलेज हेडमैन है, हेल्थ वर्कर है, हेडमास्टर है, तलाटी इत्यादि हैं। ये समिति जो है लॉकडाउन का पालन करते हुए गांव में राशन, सब्जी, दवाइयाँ इत्यादि को डोर स्टेप पे डिलीवर करती है। इसके अलावा वो आवाजाही पे और लॉकडाउन के नियमों के पालन पर भी नज़र रखती है। INCT का सुझाव है कि इस इनिशिएटिव को बाकी राज्यों द्वारा भी अपनाया जा सकता है।
And let's now, on a map of our country on India, let's see how various states and union territories are affected by coronavirus. We'll look at the data one by one across the country and across the state. Now, let's begin with Maharashtra. Over 8,500 cases. In Gujarat, over 3,500 cases have been reported. In Delhi, over 3,100 cases have been reported. We talk about Madhya Pradesh, 2,368 confirmed cases. Rajasthan, the number has gone above 2,200. Uttar Pradesh, if we talk about, it's 2,043 confirmed cases. Tamil Nadu, 1,937, just close to 2,000 in Tamil Nadu. Andhra Pradesh, over 1,200 cases, 1,259 is the exact number of cases. Telangana has also cased the 1,000 mark, 1,004 cases have been reported. West Bengal, 697 confirmed cases have been reported. Jammu and Kashmir, 546 cases have been reported. We're looking at different states. Karnataka has 520 confirmed cases of coronavirus. Kerala stands at 482. We're looking at different states. Let's go to Bihar, 346 cases. You can also look at the other data that is being flashed. Punjab has 313 cases. You can also look at the number of deaths that have been reported. Haryana has 296 confirmed cases. Odisha stands at 118 confirmed cases. Jharkhand has just over 100. 103 cases have been reported in Jharkhand. Uttarakhand has 51 cases reported. Chandigarh has 40 cases. Now we're going down in order. Himachal Pradesh also has 40 cases reported. You can, in the graph here, look at the other figures also of the state. Assam has 38 cases of coronavirus reported. We're going down one by one. Chhattisgarh has 37 cases of coronavirus. Andaman Nicobar Islands have reported 33 cases of confirmed corona cases. Ladakh stands at 22. Meghalaya has 12 cases confirmed, but most of them have recovered. Puducherry has 8 cases of COVID-19 reported. Goa, again, positive development, 7 cases reported, but all of them have been cured. Manipur, 2 cases were reported, all of them have been cured. Tripura, 2 cases reporting, all of them have been cured. Northeast presenting a good sign. Mizoram also, 1 person there was confirmed and still an active case. Arunachal, 1 confirmed case was reported, but there's no active case. They have been cured totally. Now we look at the different states that we just spoke about. 5 states of the country. We're talking about Maharashtra, we're talking about Gujarat, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan have reported 70% of the COVID-19 cases that have been reported. And these are also cities and urban areas where these cases are concentrated. If you talk about Maharashtra, which has the highest number of cases by a huge margin across the country, it is Mumbai where some 5,700 over that figure cases have been recovered. So urban areas, financial capital Mumbai has the highest number of cases in Maharashtra, more than half. And also the Dharavi slum that is there, over nearly 300 cases have been reported there. So that's a place of worry because it's a densely packed, densely populated areas. So we look at how urban areas are particularly the COVID hotspots in different states. From Maharashtra, we go to the next most affected states, Gujarat. And if I can just tell you briefly how this map has been tabled. We have different forms of scale. The darker shade talks about the highest number of cases, over 3,751. And as we go to a lighter shade, 1 to 750. So those shades are represented on the map here to talk about the manner in which COVID-19 has spread. I was talking about Gujarat, again talking about urban centers. Ahmedabad, Vadodara and Surat have more than 89% of the cases that have been reported from Gujarat. So again, those districts are particularly affected in Gujarat, and therefore strict lockdown and vigil is being maintained. We talk about Delhi. Look, it looks pretty small if you look at the size of the entire country. But third highest number of cases have been reported from the national capital. Again, the challenge of densely populated places. Although small in size, the population density is very high in national capital. So that again is a cause of worry. However, what is positive about Delhi is that the recovery rate, the percentage that we also discussed, is quite high. People are recovering at a greater rate, while there is also spike in the number of cases. From there, let us come to Rajasthan. Rajasthan, again, urban area of Jaipur. More than 500 cases have been reported in Jaipur. So we see how the cities, the urban areas, those have really emerged as hotspots if we look at the country as a whole. From there, we also come to Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, Indore, in fact, is the hotspot really of COVID-19 in the country. Over 1,200 cases are in Indore itself. So a great percentage we saw of the cases that have been reported. These are the 5 states that we talked about: Maharashtra, then we have Gujarat, then Delhi, then Rajasthan, and then Madhya Pradesh. These 5 states have more than 70% of the country's COVID-19 positive cases. And in them, the cities, the urban conglomerations that we spoke about have the highest percentage, highest concentration of COVID-19 patients. So those were the updates from across the country, different states that we looked at. We'll move on ahead in the show now, and we'll now look at some update from Ground Zero. Let's talk about West Bengal. Sector 5 in Salt Lake, Kolkata is known as the IT hub, information technology hub in the city. The area houses more than 150 IT companies and more than 150,000 people employed here. They work here. Now, since 20th of April this month, they've resumed office, but with rigid discipline. My colleague Anibrata Bhattacharya gets us more.
Like several other sectors, IT sector is also facing upheaval fomented by corona pandemics. But as you know, from the 20th of this month, as several other sectors are enjoying relaxation, IT sector is also enjoying this relaxation too. Where we are standing right at this point of time is Sector 5 in Kolkata. It is popularly known as the IT hub. It houses more than 150 IT companies and nearly 150,000 people are employed in IT sector. As you know, IT has its 2 segments. One is software and one is hardware. Those who are in the software employee, they are literally doing work from home. That will virtually be the culture in the days to come, as their company has apprised them to do as such. But in the hardware and BPO sector, they are working with a skeletonic staff pattern. That is, they are also working on a rotation basis. And they are also going through certain restricted guidelines. Before entering into office, they are getting sanitized, and thereafter, earlier they used to sit in a cubicle. 4 people used to sit in a cubicle. Now, hardly 1 to 2 people are sitting there. And the thing is that at the leisure, during the working hours, they used to come and behave at the tea stalls and the eateries, and this place used to remain abuzz with activities. They used to buzz around these eateries and tea stalls, but this is lying vacant nowadays. And because these employees are not permitted to come outside, company has ensured their pickup and dropping. Soon their working hours come to an end. They get into car and used to go back to their home. So they hardly get any time to do the gossiping outside of the office and buzz around the tea stalls. So this area is wearing a deserted look, and the tea stalls are virtually closed here at Sector 5. With cameraman Shomak Bhattacharya and Ashish Dhali, I am Anibrata Bhattacharya reporting for DD News from Kolkata.
And with a new case detected today, the total number of positive cases have reached 36 in Assam. However, the overall situation in the state is showing signs of fast improvement. Our correspondent Kamal Bora has more.
Amidst improvement in the COVID-19 scenario in the state of Assam, 1 new case has been detected today, and with that only total number of positive cases have reached to 36. If we talk about active cases right now, the number will be 8 with the new one detected today. Out of total 36 cases, 27% have already got cured and 1 person has died so far. If we talk about other development, yesterday cabinet meeting was held where few important decisions were taken, and as part of this decision, right now journalists, media persons have also been brought under the insurance scheme of 50 lakhs, and which is going to really encourage the media persons to work in this trying time. And the stand-alone shops in the rural areas, those have been allowed to be operated during this lockdown period, but in case of urban areas, decision is yet to be taken. If we talk about other efforts of the state government is really working hard to get relief to the people who are stranded in various places. They have been allowed to move towards home, and they have been allowed the interested movement, and the duration of this interested movement have been increased from 3 days to 8 days right now, and state government is availing some free transportation facilities for those people, and right now stranded people can avail this service till 2nd of May. And with all these efforts, state government is really trying hard to make the state a safer zone and a happy place at this trying time. With camera person Gautam Talukdar, Kamal Bora reporting from Guwahati.
Time now to crack some whip on misinformation and fake news. In a latest disclosure by the government, fake news has been busted over deductions in allowances of employees working under central government. Reports speculating over deduction has been termed as misleading. Press Information Bureau clarified that there is no proposal for any deduction in allowances of central government employees. Moving on, there's also a myth circulating on social media that hand dryers are effective in killing novel coronavirus. Please note that hand dryers cannot kill the virus. In fact, prolonged use can hurt you. PIB's fact-check team investigated it and revealed its reality. It says hand dryers are not effective in killing the new coronavirus. To protect yourself against the coronavirus, you have to follow the guideline. You should wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Use an alcohol-based sanitizer as an alternative. Once you clean your hands, you can use a hand dryer or paper towel to dry them. That's fine. Let's now look at the international developments. First up is the graphical representation of COVID-19 outbreak in different countries. Remember, a steep curve is when there is sharp rise in the number of cases. Take a look. Let's get some more updates. Italy has announced to ease Europe's longest-running lockdown to contain coronavirus pandemic. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said some restrictions will be eased from May 4th, including the reopening of parks, factories, building sites. Our correspondent Lucy Howe has more.
Italy went into full lockdown on the 9th of March, one of the strictest in Europe, in the country that was at the beginning the epicenter of the pandemic. There are now plans about how it intends to emerge. The Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said on Sunday evening that from the 4th of May, people will be allowed to visit their relatives in small numbers. Parks, factories and building sites will reopen, but schools will be staying closed until September. Bars, restaurants and hairdressers hairdressers are allowed to reopen from the 1st of June. Over the weekend in Spain, children were allowed to leave their homes to play for the first time in 6 weeks as the government eased restrictions that have kept anyone under the age of 14 from venturing out in public. Its health ministry said earlier that 288 people died in the 24 hours leading up to Sunday, which is the lowest number since the 20th of March. There will be a slow easing of the lockdown from mid-May, but from the 2nd of May, people will be allowed to take exercise outside. In Germany, dozens were arrested in Berlin on Saturday, out protesting against the lockdown. Around 1,000 people turned out, calling for what they called an end to the state of emergency, but there was a tough response from German police. Lucy Hoff, DORDACHA News, Brussels.
And United Kingdom saw the lowest daily rise in coronavirus deaths in hospitals in 4 weeks. Prime Minister of UK Boris Johnson, in his first appearance after recovering from COVID-19, said Britain is beginning to turn the tide in the fight against the virus, but insisted that now was not the time to ease the lockdown. Our colleague Holly Hudson gets us an update.
Despite some encouraging signs, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he refuses to lift the lockdown restrictions in the UK while there is still a danger of a spike in cases and deaths. He made a brief appearance on the steps of Downing Street on Monday to address the nation, his first day back at work since, of course, recovering from his own case of COVID-19. He joked, apologised for being away from his desk a lot longer than he'd have liked, but his central message was very much a serious one. It's not over yet. He said the UK is winning the battle, the first phase against the virus, but the UK is also at a moment of maximum risk. He urged the public to contain their impatience, saying he understands businesses' concerns. He wants to get the economy moving as soon as possible, but refuses to throw away everyone's sacrifices, he says, until it is safe. He left the daily coronavirus press briefing to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, who echoed many of his concerns, many of his warnings, saying it's clear the UK is moving through the peak of the virus, but it hasn't consistently passed it yet, and that is one of the 5 tests the government say needs to be satisfied before they'll consider looking at easing any of the social distancing measures in place here. There were some tentative signs of progress as cases and hospital admissions continue to fall from coronavirus. Some normal health services for cancer treatment, for example, will resume as of Tuesday, and the number of tests carried out a day continues to slowly creep up. 37,000 is the latest figure. Mobile testing units have been rolled out. Drive-through centres increased. The government, Matt Hancock, maintains they're on track to hit 100,000 a day in just 3 days, saying that the country has now surpassed the total number of tests carried out a day by South Korea and is approaching the level of tests carried out a day by Germany. So some encouraging signs, but even with Prime Minister Boris Johnson back at the helm in number 10, the government still resisting those calls, refusing to clarify and spell out its exit strategy. Holly Hudson, London.
That was an update from UK. Let's now scan through some more international news and updates in World Wrap. The head of Japan Medical Association said it will be difficult for Tokyo to host the Olympic Games next year unless there is an effective vaccine against the new coronavirus. The one-year delay of 2020 Olympic Games announced last month was a major blow to Japan, which already had spent some $13 billion preparing for the event. Spain's health ministry reported that overall coronavirus death toll had risen to over 23,800. The total number of diagnosed cases rose to over 210,000. However, the number of daily fatalities and the number of people infected had declined in the last 24 hours. Nigeria will begin a phased and gradual easing of more than 4 weeks of lockdown in the national capital and the largest city on May 4th. Lagos and Ogun states and the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja entered lockdowns to tame the spread of the new coronavirus on March 30th. Lockdowns had come at a very heavy economic cost, stripping many citizens of their livelihoods in Nigeria. More than 500 garment factories in Bangladesh that supply to global brands reopened on Monday after a month-long shutdown. Remember, some of the world's biggest clothing firms, Gap, Zara, H&M, source their supplies from Bangladesh. While the country has allowed garment and other factories to reopen, much of the rest of the economy is still in shutdown. French lawmakers are slated to debate the implementation of a mobile application that would help in tracking person-to-person contact with regard to the spread of new coronavirus that has evoked mixed reactions in the country. Some lawmakers across France's political divide have said the software raises serious issues about state surveillance and privacy. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said most civil servants will gradually return to work from May 4th. The global financial hub reported no new coronavirus infection for a second day on Monday, bringing some relief to a city whose economy had been earlier battered by the disease that came on the heels of the crippling anti-government protest. Bolivia is taking the first steps at loosening its strict quarantine over the coronavirus by allowing restaurants to open for at-home deliveries and pickup. Bolivia has taken aggressive measures to slow the spread of highly contagious disease, including a nationwide quarantine and closing the country's borders. Meanwhile, WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has warned that COVID-19 is far from over. He said as lockdowns in Europe ease with declining number of new cases, we continue to urge countries to find, isolate, test and treat all cases and trace every contact to ensure that these declining trends continue. WHO is still concerned about the increasing trends in Africa, Eastern Europe, Latin America and some Asian countries. And demonstrators took to the streets of Tripoli in Lebanon on Monday to protest against the ongoing economic crisis in the country. Video posted on social media websites showed several soldiers in the streets during the protest as shots were heard in the background. Reports say a protester was also shot and killed during the unrest. And that brings us to the close of this edition of Tracking COVID-19. Take good care of yourself. Namaskar.